So we are on the record. This is ERD case number CR 2021-00468. The complainant is Shanta Harris and the respondent is Nueski's Applewood Smoked Meats. I'm Administrative Law Judge Stephanie Brown. It is Thursday, March 3rd, 2022 at approximately 9:25 a.m. We are here for the second day of hearing. It's a hearing again on the merits of the complaint. And it looks like the respondent has their next witness in the room already. But just for the record, I want to just make sure that I've got the parties' appearances again on the record. So, Ms. Harris, you are again here and you're going to be representing yourself again today, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And then for the respondent who is in the room.
It's Patrick Gill representing Nisky Applewood Smoked Meat. We've got Kyle Dolan, who was Miss Harris's former supervisor. We've got Mona Kraft, the chief people officer for the company, and we've got Amber Frick, who is one of our staff members.
All right. And so is everybody ready to begin then with Mr. Dolan's testimony?
We are, Your Honor.
All right, so then I do need to swear you in, sir, if you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you will give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down. And could you state your name again and just spell it for the record, please?
Kyle Dolan, K-Y-L-E, D as in David, A-H-L-E-N.
And what is your current position with Nuskies?
Quality Assurance Director.
Okay. Attorney Gill, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Mr. Dolan, in your position of Quality Assurance Director, what are your responsibilities?
I oversee the quality assurance team, food safety, the research and development, and the sanitation teams.
As much as possible, try to look at the video just so the judge can,
Okay.
and Ms. Harris can see it.
Okay.
So I'll ask
Sure.
other questions, but you don't need to relax, man. Okay. Are you familiar with a former employee of Niski's by the name of Shanta Harris?
The same?
And what was your relationship with Miss Harris? Did you work with her?
Yes, I was the media manager that hired her and had worked with her entire tenure.
And at some point in time, were you promoted to an additional position?
Yes, I was promoted from quality assurance manager to quality assurance director.
And approximately when was that?
That would have been in December of 18.
Okay. And are you familiar with how long Ms. Harris worked for the company?
Yes, approximately 4 years.
Okay. After you were promoted into your current role, do you know who took over your position?
Vang eventually took over the responsibility for the quality assurance team. So there was a duration where I was promoted, still directly overseeing Sean.
Do you recall approximately what time Mr. Vang was transitioned into your position, or approximately how long that took?
That was June of 2020.
Okay, and how long did that take for the transition where you shared responsibilities?
That formally was transferred, shows the quality assurance department and the supervision team and the audit team directly transitioned in June, and Song was formally promoted to quality assurance manager then in December of 2020.
Are you aware of whether or not Ms. Harris was terminated from her employment or resigned?
She resigned.
Okay. Yesterday, there was some testimony about a meeting that occurred in December, approximately December 15th, 2020, that had to do with a BRC audit. Are you familiar with what the BRC audit is?
Yes.
Were you involved in that meeting?
Yes.
Explain to the judge what the meeting entailed and what the meeting's about and what the BRC is.
Okay. So BRC is our certification audit that recognizes to our customers that we are producing the highest food safety quality product. It is an annual audit for us. It's recognized under the GFSI, or Global Food Safety Initiative. So basically our customers, if we meet that expectation and certification, they recognize that we are producing the premium product and food safe product. The events that transpired in this situation, unfortunately, we had an outbreak and had to cancel our BRC audit the day before it was scheduled in December of 2020. As a result of that, I should take a step back, there's a very specific time window where that certification could lapse, and we cannot allow that to happen. So we had to have a follow-up discussion. It was scheduled with our certification body, which was Food Safety Net Services. It was scheduled for December 15th. And it was a 2-hour window of time where we were going to have to meet with them so they could assess the ability to give us an extension remotely until they could come on site for the formal recertification.
And were you aware of this December 15th meeting in advance of the meeting?
Yes, we were.
And who was all involved in participating in the meeting from your department's perspective?
So initially, it was myself and Vang who were on the meeting notice, but we had primed our group in advance, stating everybody be aware and on notice that the meeting was scheduled from 1 to 3 p.m. on that afternoon of the 15th, because we did not know exactly what direction this was going to go and what support. So normally it's a 3-day audit. It was a consolidated 2-hour session. We did not know, and we needed to have all parties available in the event that they were asked to support.
On December 15th, did you hold a pre-meeting with the quality department in the morning?
Yes, that is our standard practice, have a morning meeting at 8:10 each morning, and that is correct. That occurred on that day.
Was Ms. Harris in that meeting?
Yes, she was.
What was communicated to Ms. Harris about the VRC time window of 1 to 3?
It was communicated to the entire team, not just to her, to please make yourself available because we did not know what direction that was going to go, that we would potentially need to call in parties to support us in that event.
And was there a particular function that you needed Ms. Harris there to present to the governing body?
Correct. So a primary part of her responsibility for that accreditation is our internal auditing section. And so again, we did not have an understanding prior to that formal actually introduction in that session to exactly what was going to be covered. That was a section that was requested to be covered once we were there, and that's when we had asked for her support.
And did you attempt to call her to participate in the meeting on the 15th?
Vang was the person, but yes, I was in the room when he was attempting to get a hold of her via radio and then eventually via cell phone.
Okay, and where was Ms. Harris?
Ms. Harris, to my understanding, was in the parking lot anticipating going to a PT appointment within town.
Okay, and was she called back in to assist in the meeting?
Yes, she was.
Okay, and do you recall if anything happened after the meeting?
I knew that she, based on that conversation, that she had planned to go to the PT discussion at the meeting, and she had to change her situation at that. That had been very clearly communicated at that window of time. I was very frustrated with that account because it was very, very clear to the entire team. This fact as to the situation, I did not know exactly what transpired after that session. I was really consumed into the follow-up with the BRC.
Okay. In addition, yesterday there was conversations surrounding a suspension that was issued to Ms. Harris approximately February 18th of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any knowledge of that suspension?
Yes, I do.
Can you identify for the judge what your involvement in that was?
I was made aware by Vang of the concern where paperwork was missing, what needed to be on site, and the investigation has shown that it arrived when Shanta had arrived, and that had prompted discussions between himself and Mona Kraft, because that was very specifically called out in prior discussions with the PIP that the paper was supposed to stay on site. So I was made aware throughout the event, but I was not directly involved in that investigation.
So I'd like you to take a look at what's been marked as Exhibit 23 of the respondents, ERD page number 347. She'll have the judge will have it up on the screen tonight. I'm going to get look at. Do you recognize the document that's on the screen?
I do.
And what is that?
That is the disciplinary paperwork that was issued to Shanta upon her return. So I know she was suspended pending investigation, and this was what was issued to her upon her return.
Okay, and is that your signature on the bottom of the document? You scroll down a little bit.
Yes, that is my signature.
Okay, and Can you identify for the judge the importance of documentation as it relates to your various certifications and paperwork staying on site?
So these are operational records we produce under USDA jurisdiction. They're the regulatory authority, and these are records that support that we're producing safe products. So these are mandated that we have to have them available whenever necessary. They should not be leaving the premise. The importance of that, so it's the event that we have any concerns, we need to be able to show and prove that we produced safe. That is the primary purpose.
And are you sitting here today? Do you have an opinion as to whether or not Ms. Harris understood the importance of documentation staying on site?
I know absolutely she did,
And why is that?
because it had been covered in previous conversations. It had been covered in her PIP, and she had also issued a disciplinary action to one of her previous employees for concerns involving paperwork as such.
Okay, and so on that point, you're aware that Ms. Harris had actually issued a discipline to one of her direct reports for a paperwork issue.
That's correct.
And you know who that person would be?
That was Rhett Motz.
Okay, and was Mr. Motz given a suspension?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Yeah, to your knowledge, in your position, you take the record keeping extremely seriously?
Yes, that's primary.
Now, there was some testimony, Ms. Harris, yesterday that, the documentation, what documentation is important to keep on site? Do you know specifically what documentation she took off site?
It was our packaging production records.
Okay. And from your perspective, that falls within the required documents that need to stay on site?
That's correct.
Now, was there an individual that would be responsible for compiling the packaging information at night following a shift's production?
That would typically be the audit team, and who was directly overseen by Shanta Harris, the quality assurance supervisor.
Okay. And did they find it on the night of the 17th?
No, they did not. They did not know it was missing until the morning of the 18th.
Okay. And we had testimony yesterday from a number of witnesses, including Ms. Harris, that people were searching for the paperwork. Were you aware of that?
Yes, I was informed.
Okay. Now, there was a meeting that took place on February 23rd to bring Ms. Harris back to work and to provide her with the documentation confirming her suspension.
That's correct.
Were you involved in that meeting?
I was.
During that meeting, at any point in time, did Ms. Harris admit to you and to Ms. Kraft that she lied about where the paperwork was?
Yes, she did.
And did she confirm, in fact, that she did have the paperwork and that it was in her possession?
That is correct.
And it's your understanding that, prior to that admission, she had been denying that she had possession of it?
That is correct.
During the meeting on the 23rd, did you invite Ms. Harris to return to work after your meeting?
Yes, we did.
And who else was present with you in the meeting?
Mona Kraft.
Okay. What happened after you conveyed the message that you'd like her to return to work?
She had stated she wasn't completely prepared for that she would have to take care of some personal calls, at which time we had allowed her to take that time.
What happened after that?
That she had returned, and Mona Kraft and I had requested that we sit with her again, based on some discussions that Shanta and I had when Mona went to make copies of some of the disciplinary records that was shown, and we were following up on that conversation, and at which point then she ultimately resigned and said, "I'm done."
I'd like you to take a look at what's been marked as response exhibit 18, page 325, George. There was some questions of witnesses about this document yesterday. And it appears that, are you the author of this document?
Yes, I am.
And I realize that it's from a number of years ago, but can you identify what the basis of this coaching was?
This was trying to clarify that we need to rein in some challenges where she had not been reporting to work at a specific time to meet certain expectations. She had a number of events that had basically manifested to a point where it was she needed to get back on track. And so we needed to have her show up to work when we expected her to be at work. And this was meant to serve as that kind of line of sense that we need you to make some changes, shifting back into the correct path.
And were you aware that or were a number of the attendance issues related to the care of a child?
Yes.
What do you understand that to be?
I understand that she had taken primary care of her nephew during that duration, or during a period of that duration.
Okay. As you sit here today, this morning had nothing to do with, or this coaching, I should say, had nothing to do with FMLA.
No,
At this point in time, were you aware of any type of chronic back or neck issue of Ms. Harris?
I was not.
Had she requested any FMLA of you or anybody else to your knowledge at this point in time?
No.
Were you aware, although you were not the direct supervisor for the time period wherein Ms. Harris was receiving physical therapy, were you aware that she was receiving physical therapy?
I was.
Do you know whether or not the company had approved her to take the physical therapy?
I was aware that they had approved.
Okay, and did you understand that time off was being requested and approved of Ms. Harris for purposes of FMLA?
I was.
At any point in time, did you restrict, refrain, or inhibit Ms. Harris's right to exercise or utilize FMLA?
Absolutely not.
Now, just to confirm, you would have never been involved in the collection or review of any of the paperwork related to Ms. Harris's FMLA, correct?
That's correct. I would not.
To your knowledge, is the only physical therapy appointment that there was an issue with Ms. Harris's attendance, the BRC audit day?
That is the only one I would be aware of, correct?
Okay. And do you know whether or not Ms. Harris went back to the appointment after?
That is my understanding.
Okay. When Ms. Harris resigned her employment, did she provide you or Ms. Kraft her key access card?
Yes, Ms. Craft.
Okay, and did she say at that time anything about being frustrated with FMLA?
No mention whatsoever.
Did she say that she was frustrated about having to come back to work on December 15th from her physical therapy appointment?
No, she did not.
Did she say anything about feeling that the company had restrained her rights to get surgery in March?
No.
Did she mention anything about her back or neck?
No.
Nothing further, Judge, of this witness.
All right, Ms. Harris, do you have any questions for Mr. Dolan?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Would you mind bringing up Respondents Exhibit ERD 325?
Okay.
Mr. Dolan, as you testified earlier, you are the author of this document.
Correct.
So you indicated that there was no mention made to my back injury. But if we look at the notation, injuring her back and missed a full day of work, unplanned, and that was for the Monday 9:30 and Monday 10:14. So
I have no reason to believe this would be linked to any other. This would have been assessed as an independent event.
those 2 days would have been a, can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Okay. Those 2 days would have been assessed as an independent.
those would have been assessed. I would have no reason to link that to any FMLA conversations.
Okay, but it is mentioned in this document, correct?
That there was a back injury that was associated, that is correct.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Um, with regards to your statement that I attended my therapy appointment after the BRC, uh, how would you have made that assessment, sir?
That would have been through conversations with Vang.
And one moment, please. Could you please pull up complainant exhibit 3?
Is there a certain page, Miss Harris, of this exhibit?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know the page numbers. I'm looking at my document. If you can continue to scroll.
Okay.
Right here, please.
Okay.
For the appointment notation for 12/15/20, does that, Mr. Dolan, indicate that I attended that meeting, that appointment?
It does not.
Okay. One moment, please. I have no other questions. Thank you, Mr. Dolan.
Sure. I just have a few for you, Mr. Dolan. As we're talking about this December 15th, 2020 BRC audit, do you recall what time Song Vang would have attempted to contact Miss Harris by radio and then on the phone?
To the best of my recollection, it would have been right in that window, that 1 to 3 p.m. So I don't know if it was 2-ish, to the best of my recollection.
Okay. Attorney Gill, any other questions for Mr. Dolan?
No, Judge.
All right. Ms. Harris, anything else for you for Mr. Dolan?
Yes, I did have an additional question with regards to the BRC event on December 15th. Mr. Dolan, as you indicated, you and Song Vang were the initial contact for that particular event. Is that accurate?
As would be customary, that is correct.
Yes. Um, did you send out a calendar invitation at all? Was this noted on our calendar?
I did not, but that also would not be customary for that type of communication.
Okay. And when I was called back, do you recall how long it took before my items were presented?
I do not recall with any level of detail, no.
Well, do you recall if it was immediately upon me returning?
Is that relevant? I guess I don't understand. I don't recall to any level of detail, no.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything else from you, Attorney Gill?
Mr. Don, follow up to your prior testimony. You had your your meeting the morning of the 15th,
That's correct.
and you were confident that Ms. Harris was in that meeting,
I'm absolutely confident.
and you're absolutely confident that you conveyed the message to the entire group that they needed to be available from 1 to 3.
I am, because it is imprinted in my memory on this event, because I was very frustrated when we could not get a hold of her during that window of time.
Nothing further, Judge.
Anything else, Ms. Harris?
Yes, ma'am. With regards to, again, the December 15th, um, Mr. Dolan, how was I communicating to you and Song Bang of my appointments prior to being told to send out a list via email?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Um, Prior to me being told to send out the list of my scheduled off-site events, actually give you a little bit of reference. Can you pull up complainant's exhibit 14, please? So prior to sending out, being told to send out emails with my offsite events, how, if you can recollect, were you notified of my PT or offsite appointments?
To the best of my
If you-
recollection, they would have been verbal, but I was not the primary supervisor at that point in time. So I would not have been customary for me to be directly involved with every one of those situations.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything else, Attorney Gill?
No, Judge.
All right. Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Dolan. I would just ask that you don't tell anybody what you testified about here today until after the hearing is over, because we've got some more witnesses to get through today.
Understood.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go get Mr. Vang. So
Okay.
turn off video for a second and I will be right back.
Okay. All right. Then we'll go ahead with the next witness. I do need to swear you in, sir, before we take your testimony. So if you could raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you will give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, you can put your hand down. And could you state your name and spell it for me, please?
Yeah. Song Vang, SONGVANG.
And what is your current position with Neskis?
I am Quality Assurance Manager.
Okay, Attorney Gill, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
Judge, can you hear Mr. Vang fine? He's on the tail end of a flu. That's why he's got his mask on still. So,
I can hear him fine. Yep.
okay, all right. Mr. Vang, what are your responsibilities in the position you currently hold?
I oversee all aspects of quality and food safety of products.
Okay, and are you familiar with Shanta Harris?
I am.
Did Miss Harris report to you for a period of time?
Yes.
Do you recall approximately when Miss Harris began reporting to you?
Yeah, it was June 17th, 2020.
Okay, now we had testimony from Mr. Down that there was a transition period between him and yourself relative to the oversight of Miss Harris.
Yes.
Do you know approximately what that time period was from June to when?
It was from June until I transitioned to my current role in December of the 28th, 2020, until that was officially transferred over to me.
Okay. There's been some testimony yesterday and today about a BRC audit that occurred on December 15th, 2020.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the BRC annual audit?
Yes.
Okay, and what is that?
That particular event was our recertification because we were supposed to have an on-site BRC audit, but because we had the COVID pandemic happening during that time, it got pushed. So this was a precursor audit for that year to get us a buy.
Okay, and this BRC audit occurred on December 15th?
Yes, it was a conference call.
Okay, and were you given advance notice that it wasn't going to occur on the 15th?
Absolutely.
Did you provide notice to anyone within your department about this meeting taking place?
Absolutely. Multiple days in advance, and the day of, Kyle mentioned it to the whole team to be on standby around 1 to 3 p.m.
Okay, so first, was Miss Harris in these communications as far as when the meeting was taking place?
Yes.
And did you notify her prior to the day of the meeting that this was going to occur?
Yes.
And how did you do that?
Face to face, because she had to speak on the behalf of the internal auditing section. So she knew that she had to make herself available so that she could speak on that behalf.
Now, you indicated that that Mr. Dowan communicated this on the day of the meeting to people as well?
Yes, 8 o'clock meeting.
Okay, who was all in the 8 o'clock meeting?
The whole QA team.
Sitting here today, do you have an opinion as to whether or not Ms. Harris was in that 8 o'clock meeting?
She was present.
100% positive.
100%.
And what did Mr. Dowan tell the group relative to their participation in the audit?
To basically be on standby. We don't know how the audit will take place, so to make themselves available during that time, because we could pull anybody in during that time frame of 1 to 3 p.m.
So Mr. Down and yourself were the primary contacts with BRC?
Yes.
And then you have a support team that helps you present to the audit committee?
Correct.
What happened when the meeting started or during the meeting?
Yeah, so basically we did start at 1, and around 2 p.m. was when the auditor got to the internal auditing section, which that would be Shanta, who would have to come and speak on that behalf. I radioed her. She stated that she was not on site, that she was off site. So I told her to call me at my extension. She then, because I didn't get the phone call right away, I texted her to call me ASAP. to give me a call because she had to present on the BRC section. Because I didn't get the call right away, I then call her cell phone, which she picks up and stated that she was on her way to her physical therapy session and that she'll be back on site shortly. So eventually, about 15, 20 minutes later, she did come in. She presented her section, and then right after she told me she had to leave for a physical therapy session. And then also told me later on that around 3:30 she would have to leave again for another session, which it was okay. So
Now, were you aware that Ms. Harris had physical therapy appointments?
here and there, I didn't know the whole extent of it, but basically I told her to, put it into the vacation calendar and just, work with me, work with the team to make sure that we cover all bases.
You understood that she was approved to take physical therapy during work?
Absolutely.
And did you understand that she was approved for FMLA?
To be honest, I didn't know the extent of the approval, but I do believe it was approved.
Okay. You're not involved in the administration of FMLA,
No,
and you're not involved in the approval of FMLA.
no,
That would deal specifically with either Ms. Kraft or Ms. Risen?
correct.
Okay. At any point in time, did you restrain Ms. Harris's rights to exercise FMLA?
No,
Did you ever discipline Ms. Harris for taking a physical therapy appointment?
no,
Did you ever discipline Ms. Harris for having time off due to flare-ups?
no.
Okay. Now, there has been some discussion throughout this hearing about an incident that occurred on or around February 17th, 2021.
Mhm.
Were you involved in any of the details surrounding the paperwork that went missing?
I was.
Okay, can you identify for the judge how you became aware of what happened?
Yeah, so on the morning of the 18th, I came in at roughly around 6:35. Cindy Motz had questioned whether I knew where the paperwork from the day prior. I stated that, Shanta was the late start covering for that day, so she would have had it. And I had asked Cindy if she's checked Shanta's desk area, which she stated that she did. So myself and Cindy again went through and checked everywhere by Shanta's desk. But with no luck, we were not able to find that paperwork. At roughly around 7:10 that morning, Shanta came in. She was by her desk. I could see she was diligently going through some paperwork, which I went and saw that obviously was the paperwork from the day prior that they were looking for. I questioned Shanta whether she took the paperwork home, which she stated that she did not. And I told her, that's odd because Cindy and I, we were looking for it all over and we didn't find it. And Shanta made the comment that, yeah, Cindy told me to, and Cindy didn't want to look at my desk, which I was confused because we both looked for it and we couldn't find it. And so, yeah.
Do you have an opinion as to whether or not Ms. Harris was untruthful in what she told you?
Yes,
And what's that?
that she took the paperwork home, but she was reluctant to tell me that she did.
Do you sit here today, are you aware of her admitting that she lied to you?
Not,
By way of Mr. Dolan?
yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
What did, were you aware that Ms. Harris on the 23rd, so a number of days later, admitted that she lied to you?
yes,
Okay. Now, the documentation itself, there's been some testimony about the importance of production documents staying on site.
yes,
Are you familiar with that?
yes,
And are you familiar with whether or not it was important that the particular documents that Ms. Harris took needed to be on site?
yes. Those documents are official documents. which means that we would have to make it readily available for the USDA to go through at any point in time. And so if documents cannot be presented when they request for it, we can get a non-compliance record,
Okay,
which is an infraction.
okay. And the company takes those rules very seriously?
Absolutely.
And are you aware of whether people have done discipline prior to this for that?
Yes.
Okay, and are you aware of whether or not Ms. Harris herself, in fact, has disciplined people for record-keeping issues?
Yes.
Do you know who Ms. Harris disciplined?
Yes. Rhett Motts.
And do you know whether or not Ms. Harris issued Mr. Motts a suspension?
Yes.
She did?
She did.
Okay. You were not involved. Well, what did you do after you found out that Ms. Harris had taken the paperwork home? Did you contact anyone?
Yes. I contacted Mona Kraft because this issue occurred on the, I believe the 18th, January 18th, which Mona and I both discussed with Shanta, making sure that she doesn't take paperwork home. On that particular event, she took documents plus a camera home, which we had told her that she can't be doing that due to the importance of making sure official documents stays on site, which she acknowledged. So when it happened again in February, I contacted Mona. Mona told me to put in writing what occurred, which I did.
Okay, and so this incident on the 17th had nothing to do with FMLA.
Absolutely not.
And the company, as she testified, takes these policies very serious.
Yes.
And the company has issued suspensions for people that have not complied.
Yes.
Okay. And do you know whether or not Ms. Harris was issued a suspension?
Yes.
Do you know who was involved in issuing the suspension to Ms. Harris?
Yeah. Myself and Mona.
Okay. And did Ms. Harris serve the suspension?
Yes, she did.
And was it served on the 18th, 19th, and 22nd of February?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not post the suspension, Ms. Harris was invited to return to work to perform her job?
Yes.
Okay. And were you expecting Ms. Harris to return to work after her suspension?
Yes.
Okay. And do you understand that subsequent to the suspension, Ms. Harris quit her employment with the company?
Yes. I was on vacation when I received a call from Kyle that Shanta Harris had resigned, even though we tried to bring her back.
And it is your testimony that, you know, the company consistently treats the record keeping, retention and completion very seriously and discipline if it is violated.
Yes.
Nothing further this witness, Judge?
Sure. Ms. Harris, do you have any questions for Mr. Vang?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Mr. Vang, we worked, you have worked with me for roughly 4 years, my entire career at Newskies. Would that be accurate?
Yes. Yes.
Have you ever known me to work from home or receive approval to work from home?
Here and there, I know I did a lot of life events, playing your sister, you had to work from home.
I'm getting an echo all of a sudden.
Yeah, me too. You were a little distorted, Mr. Vang.
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear him, Miss Brown?
And
I'm getting an echo though.
should we log off and log
I think so.
Very heavy of a red. All right, we'll log off and log back in.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Why don't you guys say something? I'm still getting an echo.
Or we,
Am I getting?
Somebody left. Somebody left. It's going back and forth. And it's a feature. It's a feature.
Are you all getting an echo as well, Mr. Vang?
we are.
Yes.
We are.
Let me try logging off. Could it be mine? Can you all hear me? Am I distorted?
You're not. You're clear now. You're clear now.
Can Ms. Harris, can you reset?
Yes. Yes.
Hello?
You can hear each other?
I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear them fine.
Okay, I'm just getting an echo from them. But if it doesn't bother the two of you, let's continue.
Go ahead.
You can go ahead, Ms. Harris. You can ask your question.
Were you able to understand any of my previous question, Mr. Vang, or do I need to repeat it?
Repeat your question because he probably doesn't remember it either.
Oh, okay. What I had asked was, have you known me to work from home during our time working at Newski's together?
I'm going to object to how this pertains to the Harris's play of freedom of rights.
I had a
I'm
hard
sorry,
time
Mr.
hearing
Gill.
that.
I could not hear you.
I was objecting of the question. I believe the question is more to the than would be what we're talking.
I cannot hear you. I'm sorry, Mr. Gill. I'm hearing every other word.
I heard that he was in a. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to log everybody out because now everybody is echoing. So
Okay.
I'm going to end the meeting and then everybody can log back on and maybe that'll fix it.